everyone, and welcome to today's session where I'm going to take you through a process of different slides where I'm going to share with you aspects that you need to consider for school readiness. Your little one is going to grade 1 next year, and there are essential things that you need to take note of if you want to be prepared yourself and also help your child to prepare. Remember, it's a very big shift from pre-primary school to big school now. Although they are very excited, you will see that next year you will be confronted with a lot of homework, teachers, responsibilities. And we have to bear in mind that our kids, they are still small. They're really still 6 and 7 years old. So we have to take that in consideration. So what I'm going to talk to you about today are different things that you can be at the lookout. I'm also going to supply you with some resources that's going to help you. And then I'm also going to invite you to a webinar next year that's going to help you with a big thing that's going to happen in your lives called homework. All right. So let me just shift my fingers. Okay. So a little bit about myself. My name is Karen Visser. I'm the founder and co-owner of Violin Brain Training. Here next to me, you will see Marlies, my sister. And we built this business together. It started many years ago when my oldest son, that's now 24, I'm giving away my age, was diagnosed with ADHD and autism throughout at age 9. So I was looking for solutions to, of course, help my child, but also in ways in which I had to improve myself and my knowledge with regards to how I could better help him. Now, I was a teacher many years ago. Marlies here with me she was a registered nurse, but we have been privileged to have made friends and acquaintances with people across the world. And we have attended a lot of conferences and did a lot of workshops ourselves, presented workshops on this topic, because there's no one better to help you to set you on your path than someone that's been through that. And especially with me, I really had a very tough first few years when he was in grade 1. So with everything that I've learned, my aim today is to help you to be proactive with everything that you are going to do and everything that you need to do with your child. And we specialize in educating parents and teachers on the subjects called cognitive skills and also executive functioning skills. Now, I can tell you, when I studied many years ago, we were not taught this. And even today, any teacher that graduates now, they are not taught this. And that's why Marlies and I do some consultation and some workshops for teachers now, for the Department of Education here in the Free State, where we educate teachers to how these skills work and how it plays out in the classroom, because it plays an enormous role. And in the end, it is just going to help and benefit your child. So what are we going to discuss today? So today we're going to talk about how your child learns, because this is important. I want to emphasize that, especially at the grade level that there are a specific way in which you are going to be able to help them to learn all the new skills, reading, writing, listening, all of those. And on their level, we need to find them and start them on the level that we are at. We have to bear in mind that how old they are, because a lot of times we have expectations of them that are not relevant and too high. And as soon as they then start struggling, you are opening a not a good can of worms. So I want us to prevent that. Then I'm going to talk about cognitive skills and executive functioning skills. This is my main aim today, for you to understand how the brain works, how the children learns, because it's essential for you to understand that, right? And then I'm going to tell you, how are you going to plan to learn? Okay, you can plan that, all right? I know a lot of you are working moms. Some people have 2 jobs. So when am I going to do this homework? And you are going to be surprised with a load of homework that your child is going to get. So I'm going to quickly talk about that. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you can find out how your child's specific skill set looks like. Because if you want to be a proactive parent and you want to catch any challenges beforehand, this is the way that you can do it. So I'm going to show you what we offer that can help you. All right, so if we talk about the first one on how does your child learn, it's through different channels, but of course through homework. Now, very important, what we all as parents feel and believe, and it's not wrong, is that they're still small, they need to play, right? We want them to play. But they are going to be confronted with a lot of writing work, schoolwork, more formal work. And that's why this is such a big jump for them. So while they are trying to find their feet with this big jump, and now on top of that, they have to learn all these new things, we have to present this in a way for them to easily absorb it, make it fun so that it's easy for them. Because if you are not going to keep up with everything, they are going to start falling behind. And as soon as they start falling behind with certain things, they start struggling in class. And unfortunately, if they start struggling in class, that is when you are going to be called in, and you will be told 9 out of 10 times your child has got an attention problem. All right. So I want to prevent that. And I'm going to talk about that. All right. So homework is essential. We cannot get away with it. It's something that needs to be done every day. But I'm going to share with you ways in which you can do it. Even if you are a working mom, how are you going to do this? And how are they going to remember this? But number one, you are not going to get away from homework. If you are not going to do this, exactly what I illustrated just now, they're going to fall behind and you are going to be called into school. And we want to prevent that, right? Okay, so reinforcement. So remember, homework is actually just reinforcement what they did in class. The only problem that we are sitting with is that they go over certain things very fast and they don't reinforce that enough. And that's not a teacher's fault. This is unfortunately the system. So they learn something and then this needs to be reinforced very fast. But that's not how the children's brains works, unfortunately, at this time. But that's why this is essential that you understand how their brains work, what are the skills they need, so that you will be able to help them to reinforce everything that was being taught in school. And then I'm going to talk to you about, if I talk about play with purpose, right? We want them to play. And you can actually take homework that gets home, that you are going to sit in front of you. And there are certain concepts that you will have to do every day, like counting and writing and things like that. And believe me, when they get home after a long day, especially now in grade 1, coming from preschool, it's very hard for them to do that. If they have to wait for you to come back from your job, it's even harder, right? But the thing is, the concepts must be reinforced. We have to do that. But you can do that through play. So if they have to count, you don't have to do it always in the same way. There's different ways in which you can play all the different aspects of homework that's going to come your way. And I've got good news for you. Next year, in the first term, we've got a webinar, a workshop that we present called Tips and Tools for Homework. In this workshop, I go through everything that you get every day and how are you going to play this. So I'm not going to go into that because we will do this next year. And please, you need to sign up for that one. You don't want to miss this. You are going to save a lot of time and a lot of tears and a lot of frustrations if you are able to understand the concepts and start doing it with your child immediately. Then communication with your teachers are essential. It's very important that you are very present with all meetings that's happening, and make certain that you find out with the teacher that your child is going to attend class with, that you understand how she communicates, how her system works. Remember, we're sitting with different teachers with different temperaments and different ways in which they run their classes. So the best way is to find out exactly how that communication is going to happen, because then it's smooth sailing for you, because communication is key. You need to be on top of everything that your child needs to do. And then the last one, I cannot emphasize this one enough, is you need to educate yourself. Now, I want to talk quickly about when my journey started. When my journey started, my son was first diagnosed with ADHD, so that's now 16 years ago, and a little bit later on with ADHD and with autism, sorry. And the thing is, at that time, there wasn't a lot of help for me here in Bloemfontein. We stay in Bloemfontein. There was not a lot of experts in the field. And luckily, I had my education degree, so I had a little bit of background. But now I was sitting with this child that's got all these. He's got a learning disability. He's got sensory integration issues. So he's going to OT. So I was thrown into this big hole of all of these things with these big words, big definitions that I had no clue about. And I am, and until today, and up to today, still a very hands-on mom. I've got a little Lord Lamiki that's in grade 5. So what I'm teaching you, I've been teaching for many, many years, and I can promise you over the years it stays exactly the same. But I had to educate myself. I didn't have anyone to ask, okay, so he doesn't know how to do maths. How am I going to help him to learn the concepts that he needs to learn? How am I going to help him to teach that? Right? So I had to educate myself. So what I did is I enrolled myself in every course that I could. I attended every workshop, every webinar on every subject that I could. And that's how I started educating myself with regards to how these children functions, and how you can help and assist them in the best way. So the best way that you can do that is to educate yourself. And luckily, you have us, because this is one of the key things that BioLink does. Is our vision and mission is to educate parents and teachers on all the subject matters that's not done in school, but can really help and assist teachers. Remember, it's very difficult these days to be a teacher. They have got, the syllabus is so full and overloaded with content. They've got all this admin that they need to do for the education department. The classes are very big. So I really feel, and my heart goes out to teachers today that are teachers by heart and want to make a difference, but they are confronted with all of these different things. And that's why it's so important to have that communication and that support with your teacher, right? But the best way in which you can help your own child is to learn these things yourself. I always tell parents, when a teacher tell you, for instance, let's say they call you in and they say, okay, your child is having a concentration issue. Don't just take that, and I'm saying this very respectful. You need to ask questions. So you need to ask them, okay, when are they having attention problems? Is it at a certain time of day? Is it a certain subject? So the more knowledge you have on which to address certain concepts and aspects, the better you can now advocate for your child. So ask the right questions. And the only way to do that is if you understand this, right? And I promise you, after today's webinar, you are going to know a lot more than you did before coming into this webinar, right? And then keep on following us, because this is our mission, like I said, is we try and educate you on all subjects out there that's not related to school, but will assist you. Because what is our aim? Your first new hurdle is grade 1. The next thing that you are going to hear is that grade 4 is a horror, right? So take this 3 years that you are going to go on now, the foundation phase, and educate yourself and help your child and prepare your child and develop all the skills that they need, so that you can have, because that is the aim, an independent student, a child that can think for themselves, work on their own. But you need to lay a very solid foundation for that, and you need to start in grade 1. All right. So stick with us. We're going to teach you all of those things. Right. Okay. So what do we want our children to do? Right. And I mean, this is not just in grade 1. This was even in grade R, kindergarten. We want them to sit still. They need to sit still and not fidget and be all over the place. We want them to pay attention. I'm going to talk about that. We want them to listen. They have to think for themselves. We have to go now to reading, learning, remembering, and problem solving, right? And problem solving is one thing that I want to really tell you about. It's so important, is that we live in a world where everything is very fast. And I always talk about it's drive-through options. We want everything that's drive-through and easy. But unfortunately, if we make everything for our child or children a drive-through option, as they grow up, you are raising direction followers. So they're just following directions. They are not problem solvers. And this is something that I can tell you that is a big issue today for kids, because they don't know what to do next. They need that direction. So your mission today, after this session, is to tell yourself, I am not going to raise my child as a direction follower. He needs to be a problem solver. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that as well. But this is what we want him to do. So I've got an illustration here that we always use. So above the line is all those things that I just illustrated. We want them to do all of these things, right? Especially going to grade 1. But the thing is, what's so important and that you may not know is that there are different things in the brain. I talk about gears, different gears in the brain that needs to work together for them to be able to do that. So we're talking about memory. I'm going to go into that. So please keep in mind, for everything at the top to happen, because it's not going to happen by itself. Your child is not born with all of these skills, right? We have to develop them. And how do we develop this? Through play, all right? And this is our challenge today, parents with children that just want to sit in front of computers and want to do stuff that are stimulating and fun and changing all the time. That's our challenge, right? But we have to work at all of these skills at the bottom. So those skills that you see at the bottom, your child needs all of those skills. But let me give you some detail, then you're going to understand better. So if I talk about cognitive skills, I talk about it can either be thinking skills, brain skills. So I want you to imagine a lot of different gears. So see the brain, and there's a lot of gears that's going to, the one gear is going to start rolling, and then it's going to push the next gear. And we've got this whole chain reaction with regards to what happens in the brain. So I'm going to quickly touch on attention. Now, attention, like I said, remember, if anything goes wrong in the class, it's always attention. Unfortunately, it's that, right? And unfortunately, it's not always true, right? So a lot of times you will be confronted with someone saying that your child has got an attention problem, but it's not always true. There are many other things that you need to consider. And the other things that you need to consider is all these other skills. That's also important. I just want to move myself a little bit to the right, or let me go to the top. Let me just see where I can go. Okay, I'll move myself just now. All right, so if we talk about attention, did you know that there's actually 3 types of attention? So we've got sustained attention. So that means sitting down, doing a task, completing it in a certain amount of time, right? Then we have selective attention. So selective attention is attention where I can be focused with you, and I'm talking to you now, while I'm hearing the cars driving in front of my house up and down, because it's a distraction. So, but my selective attention is very well developed. So I'm hearing it because it's important. I need to hear it, but I can filter it, and it's not taking me off task, right? And now imagine yourself in a grade 1 class of 25 to 30 kids. How are your child going to cope if distractions is an issue for them, right? And how are you going to know if distractions is an issue? And I'm going to answer that just now. And then you get your divided attention. I believe us women, we are very good with divided attention, but that's where you are actually, you can do 2 things at a time. So it's actually multitasking. So this will now be the teacher explaining something on the board, talking, and the child is sitting and can listen and write. So it's where they have to do 2 or more things at one time. So those are the 3 attention that is actually there. So if someone tells you your child has got an attention issue, you need to ask them which one of the 3, okay? And I'm saying this with a lot of respect, guys. We have been teaching a lot of teachers, and everyone was like, "What? We didn't even know that," because we're not taught that, right? So this is not a thing about being right or being wrong. This is education and helping you to better support your child. Then, if we look at memory, because remember, this is now where they have to remember all the new things that they're going to learn, because it's counting, it's remembering letters, it's sounding and blending and all of that if they start getting to reading, right? But so your short-term memory is to remember something. I tell you something and you can remember it, right? By repeating it, the same thing over and over, eventually it will go over into our long-term memory. Like, for instance, if you think of yourself, you will remember songs that you heard when you were a child, and you can still sing the song by heart because we sang it a lot, right? Then I want to talk about working memory. And I'm going to add one that's not on here that's also very important. But let me talk about working memory. Working memory is something, it's a skill that is essential for your child's ability to learn to read and maths, everything to do with maths. Okay, so reading and maths requires strong working memory. Okay, so if I explain working memory to you, I'm going to give you an example, because there's different ways in which I can explain it. I'm going to keep it simple. So if I tell you now to do a calculation with me, right? I'm going to tell you, all right, 6 plus 4 plus 5. In your head, you take the 6 and the 4, you take it, it's 10, plus 4 is 14. So information comes in, I manipulate it, I keep it there, I manipulate it, and then I have to do 2 or other things after that. So that's now, for instance, when they have to read the word, make sense of it, form it in their head, form it together, and say the word, right? So working memory is essential for them. They need a strong working memory, right? And working memory is very, very dependent on processing speed. And I'm going to talk to you about processing speed here at the bottom, right? So working memory is essential. Another one that's very important is spatial memory. So spatial memory is where you see yourself with regards to, I'm sitting here and I'm seeing I've got a screen here, I've got another screen here, I've got my bottle of water here, and I've got my diary here. So if I go away and I have to recall how my setup looks like, I can immediately remember where is what. All right. If they get into grade 4 and later on, and they start studying different concepts on paper, they will start using their visualization skills, where they will see that piece of paper and remember, okay, what I have to remember is the top left part, right? So spatial memory is an essential skill as well. All right. Then logic and reasoning. Okay, I have to stand still here a little bit because I have to go back to what I told you just now. Not direction followers, problem solvers. So let me give you an example. And remember, this is not saying anyone is a bad parent. We all did this. I am so aware of this. So even with my little one, because I'm always in a hurry, I have to be aware of the fact if he asks me something that I don't answer him and solve whatever he's asking me, I throw it back at him. Let me give you an example. So let's say, for instance, you are cooking and your child comes in and they're looking for the snack witcher or whatever. So they come in and they say, but mom, where's the snack witcher? So what do? We tell them, okay, it's just under the microwave, to go look there. No, so it's a direction follower, right? Okay. What are you going to do? You need to ask them, where do you think is the sandwich maker or whatever, right? Don't give them the answers. If there's one thing that I can tell you today is, and remember, our hearts as moms is we want to be the best moms and we want to do the best for them. And if you want to do that, I want to tell you today, to let them and allow them to struggle a little bit is so good for them. And if I say this, and you will hear me, if you follow me, you will hear me say this every time. Struggling is good, but I'm not saying let them struggle on their own and there's no solution. I'm telling you that you need to allow them to get to a problem, don't have an answer, But then you as a parent needs to guide them to get to the solution. If you are not going to do this, you are going to have a child that will always wait for you because, and in class, this is what they do. What must I do next? What did you say I have to do here? And it irritates the teachers because she's got 30 kids, right? They need to be able to solve a problem, think for themselves. And this is something, unfortunately, guys, that children really struggle with today. And like I said again, it's because of the way we work, the way we live. Everything is rushed. There's no time for nothing. So the only thing that you have got in your mind is, as a parent, is I want to tick the boxes so that I can just go sit down for 5 minutes and breathe, right? But I want to tell you that you are not going to help your child. If you want an independent child, please don't do that, right? So put them in situations where they can take, and you need to manage this in the sense of, if you now in a situation where you need to teach this, you have to have time to do that. Don't do it half-heartedly. Do it 100%, right? But I want you to put them in situations where they have to think for themselves and struggle a little bit, because that sense of taking the next step, you are instilling with them, right? Then I'm going to talk about auditory and visual processing together. It's coming in, information is coming in through the eyes and the ears. And now the brain, remember, I see and I hear. So I want you to see that brain. I want you to see that first gear. Let's say it's attention, right? So I have to attend, I have to pay attention. Here's the information coming in. I'm going to give you an example just now. And then attention, that gear is going to go. And then the next thing that's going to happen is now processing speed is going to be essential. And I'm going to get to that, because processing speed now is going to feed the working memory gear, right? So this is when information comes in through the eyes and the ear. And now the brain needs to take that information and do something with it, right? So it's very important that you know that. That's why listening and visualizing, when we get to grade 4, this is something that we teach the children in our study methods courses, is that they need to be able to visualize. And can I tell you something? And we do a lot of workshops for grade 4s. They struggle to visualize. They can't, because you know what? A lot of them, most children don't like reading. And reading is actually the place where they can go into their head and form all these beautiful stories in their heads. And they don't want to do that. They rather watch something on the TV where everything is spoon-fed to them. Okay, so it's important to take note of that. And then the last one that I talked about here is processing speeds. So this is now information coming in, brain processes, and there's different things that needs to happen. And processing speed looks a lot like attention problems, but there's a big difference between the two, right? So if a child processes slow, please, guys, it doesn't mean your child is slow. I'm 52 and I'm a slow processor till today. I need that second longer to know and grasp the thing and then go on, right? What happens in school if children are slow processors? Like I said, they fall behind, right? And then if they start falling behind, they are going to they will be behind forever. So you cannot let that happen. So we need to look at the speed in which their brain can process information. So it's an essential skill. And remember, like I said, it's important for working memory. Okay, so processing speed is essential. But can I tell you something wonderful now here on this page? It doesn't matter how these skills look like. Skills can be improved. That's why when someone was in a car accident, or someone like me, I had a stroke at 50. That was unexplainable because I'm very, very healthy. The two things that was in my brain that was damaged was my processing speed and my memory. But luckily, with the therapy and the technology that we use, after 5 months of intense therapy, I could rewire my brain, and the damage that was done was gone, right? So I want to tell you, it doesn't matter how it looks like, it can be improved. A lot of times parents ask us, but why do some struggle and some don't struggle? Remember, Where does everything start? With playing, running around, playing games, things like that. So the type of household that you have and the things that you do will determine the specific skills that will be enhanced and grown. So if a child is a slow process, it doesn't mean the mom did something wrong, right? So has got nothing to do with what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong. It's our environment, and then important, how can we pinpoint what is important, what are needed, what skills are not functioning as it should. All right. Then, so if we've covered now all these foundational skills called cognitive skills, if they are strong, this is now where we go into where we want our children to become independent. So you will hear this term we've been teaching for 8 years already. It's only landed in South Africa in 2024. You can 2023. You cannot believe that. It's executive functioning skills. So executive functioning skills are your high order cognitive skills, right? So I want you to think of executive functioning skills as the orchestra conductor standing in front of an orchestra with violins and drums and trumpets and all of that. And this guy needs to take all the different parts in consideration for them to play a song that makes sense. Another way in which I sometimes describe this is it's someone that you're a project manager. So you're a project manager and you've got a lot of people under you, and all of them have to do a lot of different things and different functions for us to get the job done. So I wanted to use this illustration for you. So I just want to see. So only coloring a little picture, all right? Just a coloring exercise, that's all. So let me show you all the executive functioning skills that goes into a coloring project. So if I talk about executive functioning, it's things like planning, organizing, time management, emotional control, task initiation to start, foresight, hindsight, right? Impulse control. So these are all the executive functioning skills that needs to be strong. So look at this one. So if we look at a coloring assignment, sorry, my picture is going over this now, but the first thing that needs to happen is they need to initiate the task, okay? Then they have to remember maybe the specific skill or the specific, instruction that the teacher gave them, okay? Then how am I going to color this picture, okay? Where's my materials? Where's my crayons? Where's all my stuff that I need? So I have to organize the materials. Then I have to plan. What am I going to color? What color? All right, what part? Then, and this is important, in the midst of this, so now the teacher said, okay, guys, this is your task. You have to color this in, and remember all the blue, or the gray parts needs to be colored in with red, and the rest you can do whatever you like. Okay, so now this child is sitting here hearing this. He's maybe a slow processor, okay, for instance, and heard only the first task. Didn't hear the second and the third task, right? Immediately what happens? The hand goes up. What because they didn't hear it. They didn't. It's not because this is unfortunately what happens. And a lot of times when I talk to teachers, they always feel very bad because it looks like attention, but it's not, because they're not paying attention. And then I always tell them, listen, you don't know what you don't know, right? This is, I can show them, but it's no one's fault, right? They have to, they heard the first one, they didn't hear the second and the third one. And unfortunately, what happens in some classes is that every time they ask the same question all over and over again, they start getting in trouble. And as soon as they start getting in trouble and maybe get shouted at or whatever, they will never put up their hand again. So many times Marlies and I will be at schools, and we will talk especially with grade 4s and 5s. And one of the things that we teach them is that you need to ask, you have to put up your hand, and they don't want to. And through the bank, if we ask them why not, they tell there's 2 reasons: scared of the teacher, scared that their friends are going to think they're stupid, right? And so it's very important that we know if a child is slow processor, that is communicated with the teacher so that we know. All right, because what happens, and this I can also tell you, and I can give you data, current data about 6 and 7 years old children. They don't have the skill of impulse control yet. They are still too small. So they will, for instance, teachers, some of you are listening, you will stand and talk to someone and they will say, teacher. And then you will tell them, okay, just hold on 1 second, I'll be with you now. And then it's half a second, teacher. They can't wait. They are all over the show, right? That skill is not yet developed, right? And the last one, so they have to control that during this assignment. And then maybe when they get troubled or they don't know what to do and they start feeling anxious, what happens? A tantrum. So they need to be able to control the emotions, right? So I hope this makes sense to you, is that this is a simple coloring task. Look at all the different working parts that is going to play a role in the result of your child being able to do this or not. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So what does it look like when they struggle? They won't know where to start. Everything is always a shambles at school and at home. Okay, they can't plan, they don't organize, they don't finish everything that they need to finish. All right, they struggle to pay attention and listen. They can't. They really struggle with that. Okay. And then, of course, like I said, they struggle with emotions and impulse control, right? They can't remember. They can't multitask, do many things at once, okay? And then sometimes they don't know how to act, and then their behavior is absolutely inappropriate. And unfortunately, guys, and I'm going to say this again, if this is the case in a classroom, most often than not, you will be called in and told that your child has got an attention problem. Okay, so we need to address this. Okay, it's not always that. We have to consider a lot of other things because we need to get to the primary problem if we really want to help these children. Okay, so how do I plan? I'm a working mom, and what do I plan? Okay, so I want to show you where you are going to start, and I'm going to send you this afterwards. Okay, and I'm going to keep it simple. So I'm going to send you a calendar for 2024. So it's a desk calendar. One of the things that they get taught in grade 1, but it's like 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, and then they never do it again. And you cannot believe what an important part that is when they go to grade 4, is to plan, to understand a planner. So this planner has got a monthly planner. So if you open it up, it's that little blocks, you know that. So I want to really tell you to use a planner. Put that planner up on your fridge, right? And then be aware and have a family meeting and say, okay, guys, if something happens during the week or there's an upcoming event, let's go put it on the planner. The one thing that happens with children is that time is very abstract. They don't understand it. And I'm talking about time in days and months and weeks. And I'm talking about time in seconds, minutes, and hours, right? So we need to make these abstract concepts absolutely usable for them. We have to make it concrete, right? And I always thought that my sons, I've got three boys, would not be able to do it because, I mean, we're not taught this in school, okay? So I didn't think at that stage it was important. But of course, after everything that I learned and through the business, I realized that the younger you start with this, you will be astounded at what these kids can do, right? And as soon as you can start making these concepts that's very difficult for them more real, and you are not rushed to learn and teach this to them, it will become second nature. So one of the things that I want you to do is to take this calendar, print it out, put it on your fridge. And as a household, it depends on how many kids you are, but as a household, decide everything that's happening, we're going to write it up there, because that's when they start seeing Monday and Friday and how long do I have for certain things, right? On a very, very low level, but it's visual. I promise you, my son, my Laatlamiki, was independent, totally independent in grade 3 with everything because of all the mistakes that I made when I didn't know that. And he's also ADHD. Our whole family is ADHD, just to tell you. But I knew what he needed to become independent. And I started when he was in grade 1, right? And I started emphasizing and just bringing this in very slowly and in a playful manner, right? There's nothing as exciting if they've got a date and they can go write it on that calendar. Okay. The next thing that you can do for yourself as a mom is this is a little planner that I've scheduled with times in. If it depends on now if you're a working mom or not a working mom, but what you can do for yourself, because this is your next challenge. They will get into grade 1 and they want to do everything. Ballet, choir, tennis, swimming. And again, yes, we want to expose them to everything, right? So I would suggest you and your husband or you and your partner go sit down and decide on because you know when they go to grade 1, they get all the list of everything and when the times are, is decide on what you are going to do when. Take this calendar and I want you to, let's say for instance, you choose ballet. I want you to say ballet is pink, and then every time they have ballet, and you will see it's in 15-minute slots, right? You need to color in all the places where they are going to go, right? Color it in and give yourself a little bit of time before it. So let's say they've got ballet between 2 and 3. You do it from 1:45 to 2:15, maybe, because after ballet you're going to quickly stop at the shop and go buy bread and water, bread and milk, right? So the exercise for this is that if you are going to let them do all of these things, and again, even for you as a parent, if it's in your head, it's different than where you color something in like this and you see that all the white spaces that's left, we have to do homework. Is it sufficient enough? All right. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying do this exercise. Okay. And always be aware of the time that you need to do all of this that I'm talking about. And is it realistic for you to expect your child to do that? Right. They're 6 years old and a day is very, very long. So go and do this exercise. It's going to be great fun. And then I'm also going to help you. This is also something that's actually a very important executive functioning skill. And to get them independent, right, is I've created some little checklists. So if you print them out, they are small. You can put it on a carton and maybe laminate it and put a key ring on. So this is a checklist of helping them to remember, what do I need to pack? Because if you want to start instilling independence, you can do it on a very low level, like let's pack your stationery bag or let's pack your school bag, right? And you will see there's an empty one as well, because in grade 1, there's not going to be a lot of things like that. So make your own one, right? You sit down together and let's say they need to always be certain on this checklist that I pack all of these things. So often I remember, because I did this with my oldest son, is I would be working and then I said, oh, he forgot his prit. So what do? Jump in my car, take the prit to school because I don't want to get him in trouble. No, it's the wrong thing to do. They need to take responsibility of packing their stationery bag before they go to bed. So again, I want you to do it on the level for grade 1, but it's a skill. It's a skill that they will take with them forever. So we're starting on a very low level of packing the school bag or packing the stationery bag, right? And but it will go with them for the rest of their lives. I cannot tell you this because now it's on a piece of paper, and then later on it's going to be in their head. They're going to be able to do that instantaneously. Okay, so I want you to use that. All right, then got a lot of goodies for you. I've got a checklist, a school readiness checklist that looks like this. So this is just to check, just go through all of this and make certain what are the things that your child may be struggling still with that you can maybe work on. Okay. And then one thing that's so important for your grade 1 child, and sometimes I laugh, the parents say this is actually good for the whole household, is to create routines. There's nothing as secure and it works wonderful if a child knows what is expected of them. How do you do that? Through routines, right? So in this little booklet, I talk you through all the routines, and there's some resources that you can use there as well. Okay, so you're going to get a lot of help. All right, so what's most important in grade 1? Okay, you need to be involved, guys. You need to know what's going on. You need to know what is being expected of your child. Okay, so be hands-on. Homework, you're going to do homework, but I don't want you to do it on paper. We're going to play, right? And remember, that's where we are going to help you with tips and tools next year. Okay, I want you and I want your child to play. And you can play in the car, you can play on the way to school, you can play in the grocery shop, you can play anywhere, right? And it will not feel to them as if you're doing homework. And it's not going to take a lot of time. I promise you. Because if you can do this every day, that's repetition, and it's just going to pay off. I promise you. Okay, so you need to create that solid routine, and I want you to give them responsibility. Start with something small, like packing your stationery bag, because what do they also do, eh? And I know this happens to you as well. When you are at your busiest, they will tell you that something is finished, and then it's 7 o'clock at night and they need it tomorrow, right? Does that happen to you? Okay, so we don't want that. So by using that checklist every day, they will see and notice that when the print is almost done, I need to call my mom. Okay, give them small responsibilities. If you can give them chores in their house, that's important, guys. Right? Okay, so this is all that's important. Okay, so you're going to ask me, okay, I'm teaching all of these things. How do I know how my child is functioning, right? So before you ask me, let me show you how we do this. Now, remember, with my background, I did a lot of assessment with a lot of different people. And at that time, they did not know that the primary issue and challenge for my child was autism. And on that note, I just want to tell you that I was told when he was in grade 3, ready to go to grade 4, I was told by 6 people. I'm not going to tell you the professions because I've got friends in those professions, and then it sounds like it's not. I'm not going to say that. So 6 professionals that told me I need to send Henry to a school for mentally retarded children. Okay, remember now, take in mind, or remember that they did not have all the knowledge that we have today, but imagine you being told that. Luckily, I had the sense of saying, but this is not right, right? And that's where everything started for me. And my mission started with BioLink. How? Because I'm always so mindful about how it feels like when you are told that there's something wrong with your child or your child won't be able to do things, right? I can tell you, and I'll share my story with you on a later stage, is that he's today 24. He did a gap year. He had an online business pre-COVID. He did a barista. He's a barista. He can waiter. This is something that autistic children can't do, guys. He's now working at an attorney's firm. So I'm exposing him to all of these different skill sets, but he is absolutely a high functioning individual. So imagine if I just listened and not taken it further, what would have happened to him? We would not be where we are today, right? So I want to encourage you and tell you that to be proactive doesn't mean that you think there's something wrong with your child. Doing assessments, I want you to, because this is a new world for you. always remember, an assessment is not something that's going to show you what's wrong with your child. An assessment is a communication tool to show you what are the areas that you can help your child to excel. It's a mind thing. It's how you think about that, right? So an assessment is essential. So I was with many different people, and like I said, they didn't have all the knowledge. And I can promise you that one day I sat down with 6 reports next to each other. And when I looked at them, it looked like 6 different people, because everyone was saying something else, because they were specialists in different fields. And it made me feel so overwhelmed. So later on, when we started BioLink, my husband is a professor in chemistry. We decided, but we wanted an assessment where there's no person involved. We don't want an opinion. We wanted something that was objective, but of course, because of his background, scientifically proven, right? Because a person, it's subjective. It's not objective, right? It is just what it is. I remember many times I had to fill in questionnaires that specialists wanted. And I promise you that I tried to be very objective, but you're never absolutely objective, because you're a person. The way you feel about that child, it all plays a role. It does. Okay. So we then created with a company called Afriforte an assessment, objective scientific measurement of attention called Focus. I'm very proud to tell you that Focus, Marlies and I launched it in Washington, D.C. at the American Psychology Association's World Conference in 2017. Focus is being used across the globe and is available in all languages, right? And it's an objective measurement. So if you want an objective measurement of your child's skill set, we can help you. So I want to show you just quickly how I help parents. So if you phone me and you tell me the teacher says this and this and this, and you want help with homework or whatever, for me to help you the best way, I need to understand your child's skill set. So I would say, listen, we need to do a focus assessment. So focus measures 4 things. We measure attention, we measure brain processing speed, we measure impulse control, and we measure the effect that auditory and visual distractions has on your child's ability to stay focused on a task. And I cannot tell you over the years how many children was said to say they've got an attention problem. Yes, they had an attention problem, but the primary issue, the primary problem was distractions. So it's important to get to that stage where we get to where's the initial problem, because there's a lot of other problems that happens because of that initial problem. And this is what focus does for us. I'm not going to go in detail, but I can show you on a report like this exactly how long can your child stay focused, all right? I can show you exactly how fast your child can process information. And then this is objective, it's scientifically, and it's a great resource. We've got many schools in Bloemfontein using this, many professionals across the globe using this. And it's just one assessment that can go with a lot of other assessments. I've got OT friends that also, this is one of the batteries that they use when they do assessment with children. So if you want to know exactly the skills that your child is lacking or where we can improve, this is the assessment for you. All right, so focus is a wonderful tool. All right, so like I said, want to invite you next year. I do a workshop called Tips and Tools for Homework. And if you are getting the homework and you're sitting with your papers, I'm going to give you all the ways in which you can play and have fun, but important, learn the skills that they teach in class so that we can get it there, right? But you need to remember that if you want to really be proactive and know what to expect of your child, we need to understand how their skill set look like. That's why focus is such an important first step to take, because then we know what we're working with, and then we know what we need to improve. Okay, so watch out follow us, tips and tools next week, next year. It's really a fun exercise and a fun workshop for us to present. Okay. If you have any questions, guys, there's our website. My email is just info@biolinkbraintraining.com. But go to our website. We've got loads of different resources that you can download. Follow us on Facebook. We also have a closed Facebook community where we do a lot of talks and things like that. So you can come over there and learn. This is what I want to tell you. You need to learn. If you want to get your child to independence and you want your child to be successful and feel good about themselves, don't let them struggle when they are small. Please, guys, this is where everything goes wrong, and it can be prevented, but it can only be prevented if you are proactive. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this webinar, and I hope to see you in future webinars again. Bye.